Hello everybody, Kelly Rice here, but I write under my pen name, which is my initials, K.M. Rice. And today, I'm going to be talking to you about a word. See, if you only watch these videos and you don't follow me on social media or somehow have never even been to my website, I don't know who that would be. I don't know who would just come on YouTube and like see this freaking weirdo talking and be like, oh, I'm gonna watch this, and then like not be like, who the hell is that? Why am I doing this? And look it up. But if you are, then I applaud you because you have more restraint than I do because I cyber stalk the heck out of people. Anyway, the word I'm going to talk to you about is the word that I'm going to talk to you about is wildlings. So if you've never, been to my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Tumblr, or website, then you might not know that you are a wildling. Wildlings are not only the people who are part of the KM Rice community, for lack of a better word, but I believe that everyone is a wildling in their own way. Disclaimer. I have been made aware that that word is used in Game of Thrones. And at the risk of losing all of my geek cred, I'm going to tell you right now that I have not read nor seen any Game of Thrones. You don't need to recommend it to me. It's alright. It's already been recommended to me by every single person I know. All of the dogs and cats that those people own, and all of the fleas on the dogs and cats as those people own, and also some of the flea poo. Like, that's how many people have recommended it to me. Alright? So, you've got that down. Now I'm just gonna get a flood of comments of people saying, watch Game of Thrones! Anyway, I'm digressing. I'm not talking about George R.R. Martin wildlings. I am talking about a specific feeling that you have, that you are capable of having, whether you've nurtured it or not. So if you look in the dictionary, it will tell you that a wildling is a wild plant or animal. Maybe mineral. Can't remember, but you get the idea. But to me, a wildling, and being a wildling, and sort of my motto, if you will, unleash your wildish nature, all comes down to one simple thing. That is expressing yourself creatively or in any form that you're capable. And need I remind you, the word creative doesn't mean fine art. It doesn't mean you have to do an exquisite painting. It doesn't mean you have to do anything remotely perfect. All it means is you're generating, creating. Think of the true meaning of the word creating. So, you can be baking, you can be writing, you can be pursuing something artistic, you can be playing a sport, you can be doing a whole multitude of things. And I'm always trying to encourage other people to follow that impulse, to follow that creative spark that we all have inside of us. Don't let the voices that tell you you're not talented or you're not professional or you're not perfect weigh you down, because screw that. That is not the point. If everyone listened to that, we would have nothing. We would have no films. We would have no art. I wouldn't be here talking into a camera. Like, the world doesn't work that way. You have to listen to those voices just to acknowledge that they're there. Listening to them and obeying them are two different things. So you listen to the voice, you acknowledge that that doubt is there, and then you take a hammer and you beat the shit out of it. And I'm like, not saying you hate your own head, but like with your own thoughts, you fight back. I've totally digressed. But going back to the word wildling. So, the best way that I can think to explain this is to say that as you grow up, no matter what age you are, because this whole growing up thing, it's gonna happen until you're dead, and then there's gonna be like a whole new phase of growing up, I think. I'm not sure about that because I'm not dead, but I maybe have been at some point. I can't say in my life, but in my existence as an entity. But again, we're going down another weird rabbit hole, as always happens with me. Anyway, another digression. So, as you mature as you grow up, as you get older, more like as you experience life, as you navigate the world and your own emotions and the exterior world, you will be confronted again and again with this issue of identity. And oftentimes, what we discover when we're on these self journeys, for lack of a better word, is that there are a lot of ideas that we conform to that are not actually ours. I'm really bad at anything remotely resembling soul searching. I don't know why. It's like this mental handicap I have. I have these friends who are very spiritual and they'll say, I did a lot of soul searching over this or that. And to me, like, in my mind, soul searching is just lying on a bed being like, who am I? Who am I? I just can't. I probably have totally the wrong idea of what soul searching is, by the way. So I think what soul searching actually is, though, is just experiencing things and seeing how you react. That's the only way I've ever been able to grow as a person, is to throw myself into a new situation and see what happens. And you might have a preconceived idea about what you like or what you don't like. I mean, it's like dating, right? You go and you meet someone, you're like, I really like this person. They're nothing like what I thought I would be attracted to. But I guess I am. You know? So that's how life is, with ideas, with people, with places, food. And that's how we grow as people. And I assume that that's what soul searching means. I don't know. You guys might have to educate me a little bit on this. Feel free to. But on that path of soul searching, of growing as a person, of learning to unlearn, because so much of it is, I'll use the classic feminist example. I'm a girl, I like pink. Okay, I have pink walls, but whatever. And, like, I'm gonna play with dolls, and I'm gonna be a pretty princess, and then I'm gonna go in a tower, and, like, some boy's gonna come with a bow and arrow, and he's gonna, like, find me, and I'll be so grateful that I'll marry him, and we'll live happily ever after. Okay, so that's what they're told. Or more realistically, you get good grades, and then you go to college, and then after college you meet a man and you get, or in college you meet a man and you get engaged, and then you get married, and then you have a career for a little bit of time, then you have some kids, and then you go back into your career, and then you help raise the grandkids, and that's the narrative we're fed. What happens if you don't want that? What happens when there's a crack in the narrative and you think, that's when people have these crises of, I'm gay, or I don't want kids, or I'm not going to college, or I just don't want to ever get married or date anyone, which is all perfectly fine. Then you have this identity crisis moment of, okay, wait, I'm different than what has been put in my head of what I'm supposed to be, and how do I cope with that? Well, you cope with that by unlearning what you've been taught. And I don't necessarily mean that someone in your life has sat you down and told you, like, you know, you're a pretty princess and you need a prince. I don't mean it that way. I mean it in a subconscious way. You've absorbed these messages from our society and from our culture. And if they don't fit with you at any point in your life, it's okay to reject them and to unlearn them. And I think it's very important that we find a way to listen to the voice inside of us that is primeval and primitive and instinctual. I'm not talking about a cave person here. See, it's difficult to use those words because they immediately, at least they make me think that I'm like, be wild, go like with your club and find some man and knock him on the head and, you know. Assuming you know, because I don't. I'm not insinuating, like, being a pervert or, like... God, this always gets so weird. I'm not insinuating become a cave person. What I'm insinuating is that there is a piece of your personality, a piece of who you are, and your identity as a human being, that is untouched by all of these influences. And that is your... I hesitate to use the word moral compass because sometimes morals are imposed by your culture, but that is your own personal Polaris. That is your North Star. And being able to not only recognize that voice when you hear it, which can be really difficult, but to acknowledge it and to nurture it and to listen to it and act upon it is, I think, our lifelong journey. So when I say unleash your wildish nature, I mean retreat into yourself and find that insular place where you are untouched. You know, a lot of people talk about their inner child. I think that that's along the same lines, because when we're children, we're learning so much, and we are being shaped by the world around us, but there's so much, like, you know, it's like the perfect example that people often use is racism. Racism is taught. You're not born racist, and that's true. Kids are also sociopaths, so it depends on what you mean by inner child, because kids belong to an oral sociopathic culture where, you know, they just hit people and steal their sippy cups. Again, going back to the caveman thing, and you have to teach them, no, you don't hit and steal sippy cups, and it's the same as your frickin' sippy cup, and oh, well, because it's a different colored lid, or because your sister has it, it's so much better. I was a nanny for 8 years, and I have younger siblings. But I think it's the same idea of cultivating that innocence, learning that part of you, that, learning to listen to that part of you that is untouched. So when I say unleash your wildish nature, when I call you wildlings, I mean, on the surface, I'm encouraging you, of course, to pursue your creativity, because I feel like that's the easiest route that we have to reach that voice. And I think that that voice, at least with me as a creative individual, often expresses itself through art. And that might just be me, my personality, because I find that if I write a book, I feel like I have vicariously had all the experiences that those characters had. And I don't have to make those mistakes. I've already learned from them. And I wrote them in a book. Or you're self-expressing yourself through a painting or whatnot. I think that that's, you know, people call it therapeutic, but I think that that is a really good way to start to attune yourself to this wildish voice. And to learn to embrace your wildling nature, because it's there in all of us. Every single one of us, no matter how jaded you feel watching this. And I just want to encourage everyone to try to do that, to try to find their own untouched part of themselves, and to recognize that this journey of unlearning, in many cases, and learning go hand in hand, and that you're not alone on that path, and that it is both just life and also the creative life. And I think that's really cool. Completely aside from all that, I do want to apologize for missing sending out my November newsletter. My aunt passed away rather quickly this November, and that sort of threw off a lot of projects that I had in the works because, well, I don't need to explain for obvious reasons. And then it kind of set this vlog back because for a while I just didn't feel like being on camera. It's a big deal any day for me to actually put on makeup and talk to the camera, which is kind of pathetic, but that's who I am. And when you're grieving, you actually don't really want to be on, per se. But anyway, my December newsletter should be coming out in the next few days, so if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, because I think it's fun. I mean, I've only sent out one before. Do you guys think it's fun? Do the people who get my newsletter think it's fun? And even if it's not fun, if you're not one of the people who's like, I don't care who this chick is, I'm just watching her on YouTube and I'm never looking her up, and if you have looked me up, because you're not one of those people, then it's like, it's an easy way, because I just put all my news in this one, like, not piece of paper, but this digital thing that I sent out, and then you're like, the hell is she up to? Oh yeah, oh, okay, there it is, all in one tiny little spot. So that's why I do that. In that newsletter, I will talk a little bit about what I have been up to, and one of those things is my aunt who passed away was the author of several children's books. And those books hadn't been completed because, as you know, children's books rely heavily on the images. Now, her and I had often talked a little bit about, well, she would say, well, Kelly, you used to do a lot of art, and I still do on occasion. And so she would ask, would you be willing to illustrate my stuff? And I always thought, no, because I'm not good enough. Like, there's no way that I could do your story justice, and you need someone professional, and I haven't been trained at all as an artist or anything. But when it became apparent that she wasn't going to be with us for much longer, I frickin' started painting as fast as I could to illustrate her artwork. And she was able to see the artwork. She wasn't able to see the finished book, but she looked at the artwork and she said it was perfect. And so to me, if she thought it was perfect, then I'm okay with putting it out there, because I'm sorry, everyone else. Her opinion's the only one that matters to me about this. But it's a lovely story. It's very charming, perfect for kids, and I'll put more information about that and where you can go look at it and check it out and stuff in my newsletter. And maybe once it's finally out, I'll be able to have a copy on this show. Is this a show? Vlog? I don't know. But because I never talk about my artwork, like, here's a little example of something. This is just a sign I painted for the chicken coop. I mean, like, I copied a place on Lord of the Rings Online called the Cluckland. It's in Frost Bluff, which is the winter festival grounds, and I spend a lot of time there in the winter around Christmas time. One last thing I wanted to mention is I'm going to pitch my stuff one more time because, you know, it's the holidays and you might need to be buying Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts, or maybe you've got one of those awkward birthdays that falls in the holiday season. And I just want to remind you that I have copies of my books. Only brought 2 right now. And I am happy to sign them and personalize them for you and send them off to you as a present for whomever. And you can buy those, you can go through my website, or you can just go to my Etsy shop, which is Hearth Songs. And also on Hearth Songs, you might be able to buy some hand-knit scarves. Like this beautiful lavender one, and this sort of teal one. This, see, it goes, it's smoky. It goes from like gray smoke to black smoke. And this one, I call this one like a primavera scarf because it looks like a little field full of wildflowers. And that's just a few. I've got a lot more. So if you're interested in any of these things and you want to support, I would hesitate to even call myself a small business, but if you want to support an independent artist, it's very, very appreciated. Well, that's about it from me for today. So, from Kelly, and it's a little, like, bristly fox. Have a good one. See you next time. Oh, and be sure to subscribe so that you actually do see us next time, because like I say in all my videos, I don't upload these on a schedule, and if you subscribe, you'll get a little email and it'll be pushed into like your junk. But if you look, I meant your junk folder, but if you look in your junk folder, then it'll be like, oh, Camry's put up a video, and you can be like, delete! Or cool, I'll watch. Yeah. Next time! Oh my god, this always gets so weird. Now I'm talking so fast I'm not breathing. Now, again, wait a minute. That's why I was bringing up my website. Okay, yeah. Well, that's about it from me for today. Is that English proper? I mean, that wasn't English proper. Well, that's about it for not a phrase. I was about to say a phrase. But that comes from Latin phrase, or that's the Spanish version of the Latin root word, which is sentence. Anyway, delete that.